Hello Internet, welcome back to our tutorial playthrough. We just cracked into the lab, killed our first turret, and I wanted to take a moment and talk about the shift that occurs when you finally get ammunition. So we had explored, a big chunk of this town. We had hit several gun shops, two at least gun shops. We had cleared houses, we had found guns and ammunition on zombie corpses. But none of it was ever enough to be a game-changing amount. Now, in the early game, I usually go with the double-aught shot for shotguns because they tend to be one of the more common ammunitions. Even after we had done a lot of looting, most of what we had was 9mm. We had a lot of 22, if I remember right. We had some 357. We didn't have a lot of double-aught shot. We really only had, I think the second gun shop we cleared had a fair bit of double-aught shot, but not ever enough to really be super comfortable using it all the time. We've killed our first turret. I don't need this linkage, I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to keep this. We don't need this. We don't need this. We don't need this. Once we clear that turret, we picked up 1,600 rounds of ammunition. Now, if we look at our kill count, we've killed 409. What episode are we on? 66. We're on episode 66, so about 33 hours have been spent playing this tutorial Let's Play, and we're only on day 77. We did a lot of talking, though. But we played for the last, we start on day 61. We've played for 16 in-game days. We've killed 400 creatures. If we had used a bullet for every one of these creatures, a 5.56 bullet, most of them would be killed in 1 to 2 shots. The basic enemies are going to die in 1 to 2 shots, especially because we turned down zombie resilience a little when we started this series. Realistically, call it 3 shots per zombie. That's about 1,200 rounds that it would have cost us. But we wouldn't have shot everything. We wouldn't have taken the time to shoot every single creature. Every time we had a straggler, we would have killed them by hand. But you figure we've killed 400 enemies. It would have cost us less than the ammunition we just picked up. So in that one turret, we've got enough ammunition to kill hundreds of enemies. We can very comfortably do that now. So we're going to drop this shotgun, by the way. We're going to pick up our SIG. Our SIG 5.52 is a 223. We're going to unload the 223 that's in it because you can't mix ammunition. So we're going to drop this... What? Oh, yeah. No, drop the... Where's the 22? I'm confused. Oh, unload the Stanag mag. That's what the holdup was. And what we're going to do is drop this ammunition because we don't need... Oh, it was 5.56 NATO. Okay, I'm dumb. Ignore me. We're going to reload the magazine. We're going to reload the SIG. We now basically have infinite ammunition for this SIG 5.52. And you might be saying, oh, murder, no, that's not infinite. It's only 1,500 rounds. You're right, but... in this one lab, there's going to be minimally 5 more of those turrets. More likely, a lot more than that. It really just depends on the layout once we get down there. But minimally, we're going to come away with bare minimum, let's say we kill 2 more, right? Probably we will hit more than that. But minimally, we're going to get 2 more. And that's just 5,000 rounds of ammunition. It's enough to carry me in the game until I get bored. That is why finding a 5.56 rifle or 223 rifle is so valuable. Again, those rounds are interchangeable. So valuable. I prefer the SIG 5.52, but you can find on every soldier zombie essentially a 5.52. A 5.56. See, I'm mixing everything up. You can essentially find a 223 rifle on every soldier zombie because they were recently modified so that they have more realistic gear, which means most of them are carrying an M4. Sometimes they carry, what's the other rifle that's 223 that's really common? But they very often have a rifle on them that is at least acceptable. The M4 is not my favorite gun. I prefer the SIG 5.52, but it doesn't matter. It's a very negligible difference. So, yeah, now that we have all this ammunition, our whole game has changed because we can now shoot everything. We don't really need to melee, which means we're insulated from more damage, which means that we can take on tougher enemies at range without issue. A gun is... a lot of people like to play with the archery in the game. A lot of people like to play, trying not to use firearms and just meleeing. It's less feasible now to be a melee character. because of nerfs to martial arts and stuff like that. But yeah, guns are, along with vehicles, the most potent aspect of Cataclysm. A vehicle gives you tons of utility and is itself an enormous weapon. The gun is the best weapon you can bring to any fight in Cataclysm. As far as I'm concerned, the 5.56, because of the plentiful ammunition, is just the best all-around weapon you can have. So we're going to be rolling with the rifle. I said we would talk about dissectors in this episode. This laser that we're seeing here is what it looks like in the Dead People tile set. This is a dissector. What this does is it functions as a trap. So if you if you look at the footage in the previous episode, we walked in and we didn't actually see it. It was not shown on this tile. It wasn't until we got close that it appeared. That's because we had not detected it, and it's a trap. So that's based on perception. I'm not sure how the math works out, but usually I spot them before I walk into them, and then if we walk over to it, I'm going to save just in case. It should give us a pop-up. Yeah, really step into the dissector. The answer to that is no. Don't ever step into a dissector. They deal like 50 damage, if I recall correctly, or maybe it was 50 damage per limb. It's some enormous amount of damage. You can lure zombies into them if you're looking to clear out the zombies without having to do any work. You can often lead them into it. And depending on, and it auto pulps as well, if I recall correctly. I might be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure it auto destroys their corpses. So, or maybe that was just a forum topic where we suggested that and then it never happened. I don't really remember. Either way, it does a lot of damage, and it's an easy way to deal with enemies if you do a lab start, for instance, and you don't have much in the way of weapons. You can find a dissector and just lure enemies into it, the same way we've been luring them into barbed wire and things like that. These rooms will almost always contain a dissector. If you walk in a room and you see a single shelf like this along one side of the room, there is most likely a dissector in that room. This is a dissector room. It will often have one or two supplies on this thing, and there will be a dissector in the room. So that's something you will recognize over time. We're going to turn on our flashlight. We're going to peek around the corner. Once again, this is a dissector room. Even though we cannot see the dissector, it should be about here or possibly here. If we step down there, we'll leave the flashlight on. We know there's probably not a turret in here. You'll see it pops up. You've spotted a dissector to the south. So you will learn the rooms as you go. We will see that this is a dissector room. This hallway is now clear because we've killed the turret. There's just the one turret, then there's stairs at the top. We're going to continue flashing our light as we peek through rooms though. And if we know it's safe, like this room we saw inside was safe, we can safely leave the flashlight on if we want to do that. This is a storage room. This is not a dissector room. And if we peek this one as well, same thing. So we'll go ahead and turn off our flashlight to conserve battery. We can step in here, and this will have a variety of chemicals and various supplies that you would find and expect to find in a laboratory. Similar to how we had made a foldable crane, we could have made a foldable cart for carrying our goods. A lot of people will use them to clear labs, but I generally don't. Now, going down the stairs, depending on the stairs that you're going up or down, can be extremely dangerous because we could go down these stairs and immediately be in a room with a turret. So it's not super likely when it's the first set of stairs at the top of the lab, but as you proceed down and you go up or down in other stairs in the basement of the lab, there's a chance you will pop up right next to a turret. And in the old game, they would shoot you immediately, but now they'll give that turret a hostile detected message that we discussed in the last episode. But if they've already been primed by attacking enemies, they will shoot you immediately. So if you have experimental Z levels on, you will hit the peek button, which for me, again, Shift X. And if we hit the right angle bracket or the greater than symbol on our key, it's on the same key as the period, we will, oh, nope, filter keys, I hate you. If we peek down as though we were going down the stairs, it will actually let us look at the lower level. This does not work if there is a zombie in the stairs that you are on. So if we had tried to peek and there was a zombie standing here, we would not be able to do that. But for the most part, you will be able to do that. Now we're in a room with blobs. we will descend the stairs. We will wield our spear and descend the stairs because we don't want to waste bullets on the blob. And what blob are, it's complicated. I don't want to spoil lore per se, but blob are, let's just say they are a non-native earth creature. They are alien to us. And essentially the blob in this game are killable. When you kill them, if you kill a large one, they will split into smaller blobs. If you kill a small one, they will release blob globs when they're killed. They're basically just blobs of goo. They're not super dangerous. What can happen is that they will surround you. And that can be problematic because if they're large blobs, they will split into additional blobs. They can be a little hard to hit. You'll see they are splitting. You block, the small blob splits in two. Yeah, so even just hitting them is splitting them. I didn't know that actually happened. I thought it only split if they were large. But it looks like they're capable of splitting even when they are small. So we cleared out the blob. We lost some stamina. We took some hits. Not enough to be super significant. We will pop a few aspirin just so we're not in pain. They leave behind these blob globs. These can be eaten. They do have a calorie count. More important, and they can be used to make super glue, which is worth noting. I don't know what a goo canister is. I've never used that. But I believe they also are required for making your own mutagen, which is something that allows your character to mutate. So that's something that people will often harvest them for. They're pretty common in the lab, so I don't often take the time to pick up the blob globs. It just doesn't mean anything to me. I do believe they have an infinite shelf life, so it will never go bad. A little hunk of glop that fell off a blob monster. It doesn't seem hostile, but it does wiggle occasionally. Yeah. So I guess we'll take those just so that we have them, but I don't really see any reason to take them. 22 pounds of goo. I mean, we'll just go dump that in our trunk. I don't really want to deal with this for the moment. So you'll start to recognize patterns in the way the lab is set up. Currently, I'm just dropping everything on the same tile. We'll sort things later, but for now, I just want a place to dump everything. So you'll start to recognize patterns. Like you'll recognize when you walk in and you see this shelf, you'll think, okay, that's a dissector room. If you walk in here, you'll think, okay, this is storage. As far as I know, turrets can spawn more or less anywhere, so it's pretty important to peek appropriately. Looks like there is some poison gas in here. There are vents in the lab that produce things. So like there are smoke vents that will produce smoke. I'm not seeing a poison gas vent or anything. I don't know if those exist. And again, this is the technique. You peek with your flashlight, verify that you're safe, and then proceed forward. I will often mark on the map where the stairs are, so that as you explore, because the labs are very big and contain multiple floors, I will mark which have stairs and which do not. They are also slightly colored differently in the default settings. So for instance, this is a light bluish color. Well, we'll explore. We'll talk about that when we see some others. The dark blue indicates that there's no stairs there, and the light blue indicates so this is just a room. These rooms are the teleporter rooms. So here we have discovered a teleport pad. In general, it's better to just not teleport, but they are also treated as traps. You should try to stay out of them. All that's in here is a dust mask, so we don't really need to explore this. We are hearing movement, probably more blobs. We will peek. It is, in fact, more blobs. And we're just going to close the door on them. They're not really going to break down the door. This is another thing about patterns with Cataclysm, the labs. This is a 4-tile or a 4-square room layout. So here we have 4 rooms that will have, different things in them. Like here we had a blob section with a locker. Here's just a blob section. There's probably a locker in here as well. This is a teleport room. So these smaller rooms can consist of different things. Here we have like a crematorium. It's just filled with lots of ash. I'm not sure where all this poison gas is coming from. But so you'll learn patterns. So this is a 4-tile room. This is one of the possible things. There are doors to the north, south, east, and west. So we'll head to the north. These doors are different, which leads me to believe... Let me look down here. I'm not really sure why the doors are different. but it looks like they are. So we're going to head through here. Again, just peeking because there were times when turrets would spawn at the ends of these corridors. I believe that was when they were spawning out of place, but there's really no reason to risk it. Why wouldn't you be careful? Here we have a prisoner containment area. Sometimes monsters will spawn in here. These doors are not locked, so you can open them and fight them if there's something that you want to fight. We're just going to be real careful as we proceed in the lab. Here we have a stationary light. So if we turn off our flashlight, this area is actually lit up, which makes it even more dangerous because if we peeked, we can't actually see all the way down here. If there's a turret here and we step out, we would take a shot. So let's turn our flashlight on. Don't think there's anything there, but we need to be careful. Okay. These particular lights can be smashed. If we want to put the lights out, we can smash them to remove the light. I do prefer to use my flashlight because it's something I have more control over. Okay, we're just going to peek really quick. So there's another set of stairs. Looks like another teleport room. Yeah, okay. A fridge with some stuff in it. We'll take those. Continue peeking. This is another storage room with the dissector, excuse me. And we're finding a lot of chemicals. You will find a lot of chemicals in a lab. Some items in the game are in the lab that seem like they would be really useful, but they don't currently have a function. As far as I know, the dissecting microscope currently does not do anything in the game. So if we scroll down, there's no tool quality attached to it or anything like that. But it seems likely that somewhere in Cataclysm's future development, they're going to make it so that you need a microscope to do certain things. So I will pick them up sometimes if I'm thinking about it. Sometimes I don't bother at all because they don't really currently do anything. What you can get from microscopes that's worth noting are these high quality lenses. High quality lenses are used to craft things like binoculars. I think the Survivor headpiece requires a high quality lens or two. So it's usually good to grab a few of those if you can. It's not super relevant. You don't really need them, but that's that. So here we can, again, talking in patterns, this was a 4-room layout. This one is this particular layout. I don't know what you would call it. I guess like conference room or something. It will always spawn with a similar layout. This will always be a caged in area, prisoner containment, that kind of stuff. This fridge is always here. So you will, again, recognize patterns. Since we have a stairs down, I'm going to mark this as stairs down. And you'll see that these are slightly colored differently. This one is teal. I've changed my dark blue to this cyan teal color. So for you, it might be a darker blue. But this is a way of reading how the lab is laid out. So the fact that this one is kind of this darker blue means there's no stairs in that tile. This one means there are stairs in that tile, I believe is how that works. Why this one is not a different color, I don't know. It may just be because it's where we have the stairs to the upstairs, to the outside world. But I guess I don't know. This room, I think, yeah, I was going to say either contains lots of blobs or contains a turret. Again, they will not be able to come through the walls or through the doors. Actually, can the blobs spread through doors? Used to be they could slip under doors, I think. Maybe that was just certain doors. There's also some spiders here. The spider would give us chitin if we butchered it, and mutant meat if we were really desperate for food. So again, this one should be teal because there's a downstairs here. So we'll mark downstairs. We're just going to be careful. We're getting the horde music because of the blob, but that's not super concerning. We'll be really careful here. Okay. Just trying to peek all the corners so the turrets would not see us. Looks like a kennel. There may be a dog in here. We heard a sound, but I guess not. It's a little kennel. There's a little shelf area back here. Nope, just an empty closet. Thought there were shelves in there. Scalpel is very good. Take the multivitamin. We're finding some medicine in that area. So here's another little conference area. It's going to wrap around. We'll check this door. Okay. Looks safe. So we'll head in here. Another tool that doesn't actually really, I don't think does anything at the moment. It has the concentration quality, but I don't know that we ever need that. It also weighs 60 pounds, or I'm sorry, it's 60 liters. So I don't know that I'm going to be taking that. Nitric acid we'll take. Chemical reference, classified. This is a book that has recipes in it. Lab journal Smythe. These will have, I believe, mutagen recipes in them. Yeah, so those are necessary for crafting mutagen, which we don't have anywhere near the skills to craft. And mutagen now requires much more specialized tools, so that might be something we would need the rotary evaporator for. So let's just take some peeks here. Okay, so not really anything here of note. Just peek in here as well, nothing in there. And we'll just continue. Now, okay, we have a generator room. Generator rooms can spawn with broken generators, so that this is the generator. If we peek out and take a look at it, it is a broken generator, but it's not sparking, so that is good. There are generators in the game that are broken, and when you move through, they will zap you with electricity. People keep telling me it's random where it zaps, but it hits me almost every time, so I think that it's actually targeting the player. Here are some crates which you can pry open if you have a pry tool. We have the toolbox, so we're able to do this. Has a filter mask in it, which will help us filter gas and whatnot, but I don't care about that too much. It will let you breathe gas and smoke without too many issues. We have this winch over here, which we can crack open to have access to more crates. Heavy disposable battery we will take. Power converter, sure, we'll take it. And we'll just go about looting the lab here. We haven't even gotten to the good loot yet. This has mostly just been little pieces here and there of stuff that we have been looting for chemicals and whatnot. The really valuable stuff in the lab is finding the mutagen that you can take immediately to mutate, finding bionics, finding armories with lots of guns and ammunition in them, finding libraries with lots of really powerful, important books. The chemicals and stuff don't interest me very much. I usually start picking them up when I first start exploring and then stop after a little while. So this looks like just another sorting room, material storage room, sulfuric acid. And this is a 3x3 layout, so if we head to the south, this will be another section. If we head down here, this is a barracks area. Syringe we'll take. We need that for injecting certain mutagenic serum. This is a great place to sleep or get clothing if you're in the lab looking for those kind of materials. So this is going to be a 3x3 layout. So it's 3 rooms by 3 rooms. They can be pulled from a random assortment. So like here we've seen the barracks. Here we've seen storage. They can be other things, but I don't know what off the top of my head. Dissector room. Great. We'll check the... I don't know what that is. Hot air. Fire vent. So... we're open that door and you'll see our heat is in the hundreds. So that means our character is going to start being burned up. So we want to get out of here as quickly as possible. Get away from that. So fire vents are something that were added a little while ago, probably 6 months ago. They are just vents filled with fire. They spew fire out into the lab. So you'll see there's some rubble here, probably from things being destroyed. They're never going to go away, which means we can't really travel through here safely. You'll see, just in the time that we had opened that door a little bit, we're getting all this hot air. If we look up here, it will display hot air. And it displays hot air, and the red in particular means it's very, very hot there. So in that second, those couple turns where we had that door open, all that hot air poured into this room and extended over here. So we're not hot, but if we wait a few turns... we're still not hot. If we walk in this room, not hot. Walk in this room, extremely hot. So let's get out of there. And really anywhere that there is that hot air is going to be problematic. So if we move to the north, where we're in another pocket of hot air, it's quite warm. But if we step one tile away, you'll see it's regular temperature. So fire creates hot air, which expands out into the area around it. We want to stay out of this room. We do want to mark that there's downstairs here. And the reason for that is because if we're on the lower level and we come up these stairs by accident, we may burn to death before we really get a chance to do anything. Now that hot air will dissipate over time, so this should cool down after a while, and we should be able to safely move through here, but we'll never be able to move in this room without being burned up really badly. So we're not going to go that way. So we're going to go find a different route. A lot of times in labs like this, you will find dead ends. You'll end up being in a position where you can't continue in a certain direction and you have to pivot. That's just going to happen. Nothing really to be done about that. Be real careful here. Okay, looks clear. So we can continue looting. Yeah, not really anything in here. These vats can contain mutated limbs. I think you can eat them to get a chance at mutating. Teleporter room. Definitely take the screwdriver set. You can eat mutated limbs, and I think there's like a fetus item that you can eat. This is, yeah, slime pits. So in the room where you see the refrigerator in the corner, there will be slime pits in there, or goo pits, rather, not slime pits. No, we don't want to mess with those. I'm not sure what they do if you fall into them, but I know it's not good. On here we have a CBM storage room. So we'll come in here and just peek around. Okay, so these are CBM vaults. They can be accessed a couple ways. The most reliable way that I always do is to pickaxe through the wall and just take them. Alternatively, you can interact with this console and you have the chance to try and hack into it. Hacking in Cataclysm, so it's based on your computer skill, is never really reliable. It's always going to be, even at skill 7, 8, which is about as high as you can really get it pretty easily, you still fail pretty regularly on these kind of checks. I don't think it's ever worth it to try and hack these things. I think it's always too dangerous, because if you fail, you'll see here it says, will be met with lethal force. What that means is that it will do a variety of terrible things if you fail. It could spawn a robot right next to us that has a machine gun and kill us pretty much 2 turns later. As soon as it recognizes that we're here and it shoots us, we'll be dead. So that's one possibility. It could drop man hacks like, what's that, Half-Life? You know, the little bladed robots, drones that fly around. Those can really rip up your clothing and deal a lot of bleeding damage, so you really don't want to deal with them. It could just do something simple like shock you. It could do a lot of really nasty things, so you really don't want to fail hacking these things. So I just never, ever do that. What I will do is peek inside, see what the CBM is. This one's an ethanol burner. This allows us to consume alcohol and burn alcohol to refill our internal batteries for our bionics. And see if they're worth anything. This one's the metabolic interchange. What this does is it converts some of your calories that you eat into bioelectric energy that then powers your CBMs. So of these two, they both do the same thing. They recharge your power. They do it in different ways. I'd rather have the metabolic interchange. So I would like to go get our jackhammer and come through here. But again, the jackhammer is so unreliable because of the time it takes to charge. We're gonna need the jackhammer one way or the other. Let's go drop our stuff off and retrieve our jackhammer. We can turn off our flashlight to conserve battery since we already know where we're going. And you can see as you expand and explore more and more of the lab, you'll start to forget, you know, which stairs you went up or came down, and it can be a little tricky to remember where you're going. So that's why I mark on the map where the stairs are. It's just a little bit easier that way. So let's go out here. We didn't even shoot any enemies either. Since we got our gun, we still only are meleeing. So let's drop this stuff that we don't need. Drop all this. Can drop all that as well. We'll keep the scalpel and replace our X-Acto knife with the scalpel. So let's unfavorite the X-Acto because the scalpel is a higher quality dissecting tool. Drop the X-Acto knife. And we're going to want the jackhammer. How are you doing? 800. Okay, let's turn the recharger on. Batteries are very low. Let's remove. No, no, they're all charged. So these aren't drawing power. It's all just going into the jackhammer. Let's turn on the engine. Let the engine run. Let's wait for a little while. Say 30 minutes. Let's stop and make sure that this is still running. Still running, still charging. How are you doing? No, I want to look at the... No. Stop, let go of the controls. Check the battery. 1700. I mean, it's not terrible. Just waited 30 minutes here. It's super tedious. This is why I complained when we found the electric jackhammer. It's not ideal. We would much rather have literally any other jackhammer or any other means by which to pickaxe through walls. So we're going to grab our jackhammer. We're going to go down and grab the metabolic interchange. Unfortunately, the metabolic interchange is not actually a rare CBM. It's pretty common. So it's not like we're getting a ton of value out of this room, but we don't currently have it. So we might as well go have a look here and grab it. So we'll jackhammer through. Now, jackhammering through will not trigger the alarms. So we'll go ahead and jackhammer through the wall. If you're pickaxing, going through the glass is faster. So if you're ever trying to get in somewhere, pickaxing the concrete walls, I forgot the home wrecker. Of course I did. Well, that's okay. We'll head back, drop the jackhammer off, and pick up the home wrecker, and then we'll call the episode. Pickaxing, if you're trying to get into an area, let's say we're trying to get in here, it's faster to go through the glass than it would be to go through a concrete wall. So if you have the option of going through a metal door, a concrete wall, or a reinforced glass, in general, take the glass or the door. Don't go through the concrete wall. Plus, the concrete walls, as we've said, require you to then smash the rebar cage, which is not super great because I don't like having to deal with that extra hurdle. And we'll just call the episode here. You know, if you want to duck out, that's fine. I'm going to go down and grab the metabolic interchange, and then we'll call the episode. So we've started exploring the lab. I've tried to point out to you the patterns of some of the stuff that you're going to start recognizing. Like, again, 4-room layout versus 6-room layout versus, you know, this one is the dissector room, and this one is the teleporter room, and etc. And this one's the slime pit room. Because once you start to recognize, oh, I don't have a blank. Once you start to recognize those things, it becomes a little bit easier to determine whether something is worth your time or not. So like if you walk in and you see it's a teleport room, you don't need to go in. You'll be able to look and say, okay, well, what's on the table? Well, a screwdriver set. Okay, do I want that or do I not? And that's about all the assessment that needs to be done. You don't actually need to waste time going in there and that kind of stuff. So it quickly saves you a lot of time once you start to learn the patterns. So we'll grab the metabolic interchange. So now we have an additional bionic. We haven't really found very many. We're definitely going to talk about bionics in the future, preferably in the near future. But it's still a ways before we would be able to input them into our bodies. So probably not anything right this second. So for now, I think that's going to be it for the episode. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. I will be back with more Cataclysm tutorial content in the near future, and I will see you in the next episode.